This is Hilton Milan for Divine Times. Thank you for tuning in. Here today with extraordinary guest Robert S. Chung.
Hello, Hilton.
Robert, welcome.
Thank you.
You've come all the way from LA, and you've got such an impressive history with RSC Business Group, and particularly RSC Business Group Alpha.
Yes, in Toronto.
In Toronto, and the link for that is RSCBGA.com.
Yes.
RSCBGA.com.
Yes.
So people can check you out there, but equally so, we can learn more about you right here.
Yes.
Tell us about RSCBGA.
Well, our company is around since October '88 in Los Angeles.
Yes.
The Toronto group has established about 13 years ago.
Yes.
With Brandon Ling, Wojtek Buczynski, Ifi Kazim, and Tom Chow,
Yes.
and I believe one other person, Andy.
Yes.
And it's been here, and we're serving small business ever since.
Yes. And in serving small business, just in some stats and numbers, I know that in LA and California, you're rated the #1 small business consulting group.
Well, you can look me up by typing Los Angeles business coach.
Yes.
Or find a business coach in Los Angeles, and we shows up as #1 there.
Right. How does that happen? Because there are thousands of business coaches. It's become, a phenomena.
Yes.
Everyone needs a coach and a mentor.
Yes.
What distinguishes, the work that you do?
Well, we began in October '88,
Yes.
and so we've been around longest. And 2000, I guess, couple of economic crisis later, we're
Yes.
still here.
Yes.
And so as a result of it, just by simply been existing for a long time,
All right.
and we've served over 1,390 businesses so far. So it's given us some edge.
Yes.
Because we're now able to play and grow in the field of business coaching and consulting.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of background data, and as a result of that, we can actually customize each and every service to a client.
Is there a difference between coaching and consulting?
Well, think of it this way: consulting means you're on somebody's shoulders,
Right.
and they're running for you.
Right.
And coaching means you're running the laps, and there's a coach that says run faster, run slower, move things differently.
Ah,
So
beautiful.
yeah, so consulting is more expensive, obviously, because they're doing the work for you,
Right.
and you're left with a product at the end. But in coaching, it's much more economical, and you grow with the company. Consultants will come in and do all the work in 3 weeks,
Yes.
and then or month or whatever, 6 months, whatever, but they're gone.
Yes.
Coaches are with you every step of the way.
Your firm does both.
Yes,
correct?
we do.
All right. Do you have a preference?
No, because what ends up happening is, you could start a company just to say with one person.
Yes.
Eventually it grows into 6 people, 12 people, 30 people, 100 people. You end up having a lot of coaches and consultants because you got different divisions, sections. Like I got one client who's been with me for now 28 years.
Yes.
Owns 4 corporations.
Yes.
One medical, one legal, one corporate, one real estate, right?
Right.
So, but with him, believe it or not, he's still my, I'm just a coach for him.
Yes.
But we're playing a different game. Before it was, okay, how many phone calls can you make? How many cards you can drop off?
Yes.
Now we're playing a game called, okay, your asset is worth 13.5, 13.7 million. Now how can we get it to 30 million? So coaching is still coaching, right?
Yes.
But the content is different, right? Same thing but different. So because now he has to double in 3 years.
Yes.
So the numbers he gives me before when he first started was I went to 3 restaurants, left 2 business cards.
Yes.
Now it's like I'm at 13.5. I think I get to 14.2 by 6 months from now, whatever it happens to be, right?
Yes.
Because we're no longer, he's no longer at the place of producing the asset.
Yes.
He's now at a place of growing the asset, right?
Yes.
Different ball game.
Yes.
But he's just my client as a coach.
Yes.
Now, has he other consultant? Absolutely. I think he had 4 or 5 consultants so far, and there's one who's been with him forever, just like me.
Yes.
But we've been together for a long time.
Yes.
So we've done various different things along the way. And part of the time I was the consultant, other times I was a coach. But we've been together for a long time. So we have a lot of clients that's been around with us for a while.
Right. And the average client comes on board with you for
A short, as little as 4 hours, 3 hours,
Yes.
much as 28 years now. 29 years. Going 29.
Right. And in organizations then where you grow, do you expand your coaching consulting to beyond the sole proprietor or the president or if it's an artist or an athlete? How does it
Well,
work?
eventually, we all start off as a person born into a family.
Right.
But eventually, we express ourselves.
Yes.
And we become groups.
Yes.
And so, like, for example, I helped to start work with a company and does about 2.25 million in sales now.
Yes.
We started with very little. Now we're there.
Yes.
And now I'm working with a production manager. We're working with a quality control manager, administrative officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's 4 people, not 1. So it's change. Another company, we built the human resource department, personnel department, of the old days, and we built the finance section.
Yes.
So, went from a small concern to larger one.
As these organizations or individuals grow, many times success will lead to, or massive success will lead to failure if it happens too fast, or there are these growing pains.
Okay.
So how do you actually guide your clients?
Well, we show the pitfalls, and we tell them, look, if you go this way, this will happen to you.
Okay.
And most people don't listen. They go there anyway. And then we pull them out of the pitfall and keep on going.
Yes.
After about 2 or 3 times of that, they listen to us more. Because in the beginning, they don't know us from Adam, they just know us from our reputation, right?
Yes.
And so it looks kind of magical because we're predicting their move. But when you're around hundreds, if 1,000 plus clients, you see these patterns after patterns after patterns. So you can predict things. And unfortunately, most human beings just simply follow pattern. So we're able to advise. And the failure is part of the process.
Yes.
And we have the time to wait sometimes, other
Yes.
times nudge, and small amount of people will listen to us
Yes.
first time
Yes.
and not get in trouble. But
Yes.
I can promise you, 95% of people will be fine until we said, "Don't go there," and they go like, "Well, I'm not so sure." But people find out, and then our job is to pull them back up
Yes.
and make sure they get to where they want to go. So
you have to really listen. Or you're not telling them a success formula.
well, we show the formula.
Okay.
It's just that people don't follow it. You have to understand, human beings are individuals,
Yes.
and as such, they have their own will, their own choice.
Yes.
One of the great strength and weakness of human being is free will.
Yes.
And I think we're a comedy show for God, honestly. And so what happens is there's a path that works, and we don't do it. And eventually, we end up doing it. But at that point, it's of their own free choice. So what happens along the way is, people go, well, how can you know? You look so young, so old, so big, so small, whatever, right? Human beings have opinions.
Yes.
But what ends up happening is like, okay, so I see. And then we explain why they came about and what other people have done. So as a result, people are able to go, I see, so they don't have to make the same mistake. But unfortunately, from my experience, human beings' job is to make the same mistake, just do it faster. So what we provide is speed of overcoming failure faster
Yes.
and going where they want to go. And then eventually be willing to be course corrected along the way. We're like a GPS system. We don't go, if you go that way, you can't. We're taking over control of your car. We just keep on recalculating until you get there.
Recalculating, recalibrating.
Yes.
Now, people, as everyone has opinions, we also have judgments of others and ourselves.
Yes.
How does that impact?
Well, I don't understand the question.
In the judgments, is that a stop thing? Because we're working for discernment,
Right.
and wisdom,
Right.
and yet we're having to hit and find failures to make changes.
Right. People want to have experience of their own will and choice.
Yes.
And they also want to, it takes a long time for the people to trust each other. But what usually stops people is their internal psychological, emotional states.
Yes.
And what people find out eventually is that's just a part of who they are. They're not all of who they are. Who we are is our internal state, right?
Yes.
Our heart, if you
Yes.
will.
Yes.
Our mental state,
Yes.
our physical state,
Yes.
and our being, our soul, right?
Yes.
Body, mind, heart, and soul, right?
Yes.
And what you discover is, as we grow as an individual, as a team, as a group, extended family members, and so forth,
Yes.
we find that we're part of the whole. So we can have our internal state, we can have our feelings, thoughts, and whatnot, but it no longer runs us anymore.
Yes.
So that's the change that occurs over time. So nothing wrong with having horrible feelings, nothing wrong with thinking bad things. But since you're part of the whole, it works out.
It seems, that, we observe certain people that have like the Midas touch.
Right,
And they seem to do everything right.
right,
And it seems perfect.
right. But they're not a person. They're not an individual. They're a team. They are a representation of the team. So like when you go to the Academy Awards, they go, thank you for the Academy. And by the way, the stage and Johnson, thank you for the cup of coffee at Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. when I was dying, and all this stuff, right? You go like, God, they're so humble.
Yes.
The reality is they're acknowledging the fact, which is they're up there learning, getting the Academy because they're supported. The perfection occurs in the groups, not individuals. You have an appearance of a person representing perfection, right?
Yes.
But that person is not a person. That person is a representation of a team. So perfection occurs, and individuals strive for it, but individuals cannot get there. Only team can. That's the paradox of team.
Yes.
You can become a perfect individual if you're supported by team.
Right.
Your husband, without your wife taking care of your son or daughter to school, you cannot go to work and work 9 hours straight or 8 hours straight, 10 hours straight.
Yes.
Without having you're a great business executive, you can operate without your secretaries and administrators and assistants. Your greatest star, well, you cannot function without your backup team.
Yes.
So what you see as perfection is not individual. So it's a team.
So it's a little bit of an illusion, what we think.
Well, illusion implies it's not real,
All right.
but it's a creation. Creation is much more existence to it, right?
Yes.
I'm from Los Angeles,
Yes.
and Los Angeles is really a desert
Yes.
next to a sea.
Yes.
But when you go there, you see palm trees, you see buildings, right?
Yes.
And you see beautiful places and shows and fun, right?
Yes.
It's a creation. You live in Toronto, right?
Yes.
And Toronto, it snows here,
Yes.
it's warm here, hot here, right?
Yes.
But you see the city streets? These are all creations.
Yes.
And as a result, we create our own bubble reality.
Yes.
So Toronto is a bubble reality, Los Angeles is a bubble reality, and you yourself, believe it or not, are your own bubble of the reality of the people that are around you.
Yes. Yes.
So inside of those realities, perfections arise,
Yes.
beauty arise,
Yes.
God's work arise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can people do this and succeed on their own without a coach?
Well, they could.
Can't
Just take.
imagine.
We
Yes.
just saves them a lot of time,
Ah.
a lot of effort,
Yes.
a lot of trials and errors. So, of course.
Could you tell us about your story, how you started, where you were, and how you began?
Okay. I'm 56 now.
Yes.
And when I was 26 and a half years old,
Yes.
with a college degree,
Yes.
I came out into the
A college degree in.
psychology.
Uh-huh. What did you learn from that, or what did you like or
Well,
didn't like, or what was it?
I was pre-med and I couldn't pass organic chemistry. I got a D plus and I said, this is it, I'm not going to do the physics. And I couldn't cut people. I didn't like cutting people and doing all the things.
Yes.
So I was lost and I said,
And you're going into pre-med. Was that your idea or family?
well,
or?
you have to understand I'm Korean by birth.
Yes.
American as a culture goes.
Yes.
But my thoughts were standard point of view.
Yeah.
Like you go to school, you live this life.
Become a
and
doctor
a
or a
lawyer,
lawyer.
accountant,
Yes.
some professional of some
Yes.
sort, right?
Yes.
And I was going to be a doctor.
Yes.
And I realized I didn't want to be. It was not my goal.
Yes.
And I wanted to get away from college because I want to find for myself.
Yes.
But what ended up happening, got a college degree, learned about people,
Yes.
and found out I need a higher degree and was immediately lost in the world.
Yes.
And I didn't want to go back to my parents, even though I was visiting them for a little while, longer than expected.
Yes.
And I went on my own to no job, no security, no future, no nada. I was completely displaced.
Yes.
And I came out into the world where in '87, in the United States and California, jobs were scarce to find.
Yes.
And I wanted to work for J.C. Penney or Sears as a management trainee, and I applied, and they said, "You're too old." But I'm 26, 27. How can I be so old? He says, "Well, we're looking for people like 22 to 24, just fresh off the college." And I was distraught. I tried a lot of different things, and they said it's the same thing. It's like, we like people much younger coming into our organization. I was deeply hurt.
Yeah.
So I ended up working in a bookstore, donut shop, doing odd jobs, teaching kids,
Yes.
working with kids with various issues.
Yes.
And I was doing a lot of volunteer work. I wanted to change the world, make it better.
Yes.
I was assisting a landmark education receptionist.
Yes.
And this man approached me and said to me, "You're Robert Chung." I said, "Yes, I am." And he says, "Well, you're a college grad, yes, and you assist here a lot. And just want you to know, I'm a business consultant. I'm a relatively new consultant myself." He was a corporate consultant, right, for large companies.
Yes.
He says, "Yes, sir, how can I help you?" He says, "Well, I was wondering if you'd like to be my client." He says, "Excuse me? Who are you talking to?" Right? So he hired me for a ridiculously low fee that I could afford,
Yes.
working at a bookstore and donut shop.
Yes.
He taught me about the world and all the things.
What were some of in teaching you about the world, what were some of the shifts?
Well, one of the things he taught me about is having a vision. And saying the vision had no reality, it was up to you to create life into that vision and make it real. It was
Yes.
up to you to cause existence of it and live in people's awareness
Yes.
and be willing to talk about it a lot and share about it a lot
Yes.
and make it real.
Yes.
Start initially with words, with people, and later with physical things and structures.
Yes.
So, and then he sent me how to set up goals for 15 years, 5 years, 1 year, and it took me 3 months to do his homework because I was so nervous of doing it wrong. Eventually, I found I could keep changing as I go, but that took years. I was very rigid at the time. Imagine a skinny Asian kid who wants to be almost military-like precision and perfect, right? That's what I was.
Yeah.
And he taught me, and I got a real job and made 5-figure income, got my own place, no longer renting a room. And he said to me, this is a few months later, "What do you want to do with your life?" I said, "I want to be rich and powerful, Stephen. I want to change the world." He said to me, "Well, you want to be rich and powerful? Well, it's 88 now, 1988.
Yes.
So in 10 years, you will see huge rise in stock market after crisis after crisis. You will see real estate changing, growing massively. Homes in Santa Monica was for 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, $72,000, right? Now it's like 2.5 million, right?
Yeah.
If only knew what he knew at that time. I didn't believe him. So I didn't really do much. He came to me and said, "Are you getting your real estate license?" "No." "Are you getting your stockbroker license?" "No." "Are you getting insurance license?" "No." "Are you learning accounting?" "No." I said, "Robert, you don't really want to do what you said. What comes out of your mouth is not true. You don't be rich and powerful and take over the world. What do you really want to do?" I said, "Stephen, I want to be like you because you dress well, you travel places, you talk to people, you work with these huge things and big things. I want to be like you. And I don't want to work that hard." He said to me, "Robert, your success will take about 10 to 15 years before you figure it out." I said, "Your overnight success take 10 to 15 years." And I said to him, "Stephen, you don't know me. I'll get that done in 2 to 3 years." And he said to me, "Robert," I remember him really well, "knowing you, you'll figure it in about 30 years. Are you willing to try it?" I said, "Okay. If you can deliver on your deal, I'll work on this consulting coach thing for the rest of my life." Deal, shake. That was it.
Thank you for that. It's a real honor because I'm having the privilege of working with you and your firm and Brandon in the coaching area, as well as being so excited about the quality of work and speaking about future things that you've created, like your charter. And I'm interrupting terribly, but
Okay.
yeah. Carry on, please.
So in the old days,
Yes.
there was no such thing called company or corporation.
Right.
And if you messed up, well, what happened is people come after everything you got.
Right.
As a result, people needed to be limited in liability. So
Yes.
in Great Britain and France and all these places, kings would give you grant limited, which means you're limited from liability of all of your mistakes to a certain point.
Yes.
So that became beginning of corporation, right? And now there are no more kings and queens doing that anymore. There's governments giving you a little piece of paper, say you're a corporation or incorporated, limited, whatever language you use, right?
Yes.
We're all British legal structure. We're
Yes.
inside of it, right?
Yes.
Well, charter is something that is given to the person to carry out a work. And so charter has components. Now, mine is much more complex than the way it used to be. Before it was something that I grant you to get a couple of boats and find new country and see what you do.
Yes.
And, like Columbus found America, right?
Yes.
Because he got chartered. And he was limited from liability just in case he loses ships and all that.
Yes.
From the people from coming after him for everything he owns, or his life even.
Yes.
So he's an Italian fellow, and he couldn't get limited by Italy. So he had to go to Spain. Queen Isabella said, I limit your liability, and he went and came to not America,
Yes.
continent of America, not United States, but all of itself. And as a result of his limited liability, he was able to find this place. And you and I are here after a couple hundred years, right?
Yes.
So what the charter does is it grants the right to have something occur. So what the charter has is a vision,
Yes.
like what shall it be when it's done? And it gives a duration of how long that company should last.
Yes.
And that it and then in my case, we have missions, purpose for existing.
Yes.
Purpose to the outside world's external mission, which is a promise that entity makes to everybody that are outside of its body.
Yes.
An internal mission, which is a promise it makes to people that are inside of the body.
Yes.
And then rules and definition of operating definitions.
Yes.
And the code or values they should live by. And then it lays out the vision.
Yes.
And its job is to allow people to coalesce toward the goal and objective.
Yes.
So that's what it does. And then people read the charter on a regular basis to remind themselves they have agreed to this game of causing something,
Yes.
and they work on it.
Yes.
And our charter was created about 13 years ago in Toronto
Yes.
by 5-6 people who were reading a few sentences,
Yes.
and we documented what people heard. It turned into a 14-page document after 242 people read it.
My goodness.
And then now...
And it was how many, like 2,000 and something, 48 revisions?
Yeah, 2040 revisions. And now it's so big, very little changes occur because even the minor changes kind of gets absorbed in the majority of it, right? So it occurs stable, but it's a living document, if you will.
So its perfection is in the group and as a living document of,
Yes.
of the team.
Yes.
Everyone working together.
Right.
Could you speak a little bit more about your vision statement and then a bit about the charter?
Well,
Some of the highlights.
okay. So the system organization is designed to help to integrate the cultures and businesses together and build a smoother path for people to live inside of and then find their place in the world.
When you say cultures, and
When you look at our planet as a whole,
Yes.
you basically have a small group of humanity moving around
yes,
and becoming adapted to different climates,
yes,
and you see a lot of fragmentation.
yes,
And what's missing is a glue to hold it all together. Now, it's happening naturally because what humans do is they fight among themselves, they unite after a few generations, fight against another group of people. So eventually you will see on this planet planetary government of sorts. As you see, as United States, Mexico, and Canada coalesce, no matter what individual may say or do,
yes,
collectively, you will see collective common path in North American continent.
yes,
You will see happening European continent, Asian continent.
Yes.
Eventually, whether it takes 50 years or 300 years, 1,000 years, There will be 3 main power blocks, and then eventually there will be a global coalition of some sort. Not the United Nations the way we have it, but much more different, better sort, where individual is honored.
Yes.
That's my hope. And my hope is that we get to play part in it through business, where people could express themselves through their business,
Yes.
make their livelihood, and make a difference inside the community, and each person be a seed of his own community.
Yes.
So that's our goal, to help people, help to build this vision of how things could be. Because in our view, everybody's perfect and whole in team.
Yes.
No one needs to change, no one needs to get better or worse. We just have to connect together properly.
And I think I remember you saying that what you do mostly is you help people add components.
Yes, there's more to it, but yes.
Pardon me?
Yes, we add parts that could be. So if I'm a really great speaker, I have to write a book.
Yes.
I could force myself to write a book. Or I could trade with somebody with money or services,
Yes.
or benefit of whatever sorts.
Yes.
So where somebody could be right for me, right? So myself alone, I'll put away writing a book for, I don't know, 20 years.
Yes.
But I have somebody else who helps me write. That
Yes.
book comes out in 3 months.
Yes.
I didn't change. It's just that us, him and I, her and I, we were able to do something more. So what we share with people is that they're perfect the way they are.
That's rather radical, in today's world, isn't it?
Well, we bought into this theory of individualism where people improve, or people change, people go through all kinds of things to change, and that's possible,
Yes.
and that's doable. But we like to think we do it much more easily by adding and subtracting people, and becoming more willing to work together with other people.
Oh, that's marvelous. Both the adding and subtracting. So where you're constantly working in and supporting flow, or optimal flow, or better flow.
Yes, because when you look at the world,
Yes.
when you look at it somewhat objectively, all there is flow. All there is movements. Whether, growing older, disappearing, passing on.
Yes.
I believe in reincarnation, so new bodies,
Yes.
new systems, new stuff coming in. There's a flow, always a flow. And our job is to engender the flow toward where it wants to go.
When we see in the world news or local news, conflict and duality, duplicity,
Right.
what do you feel, or how does your vision, in charter and practices,
Okay.
make a difference there?
This universe exists with a code called exist.
Right.
And it may keep changing to exist, but exist, right?
Yes.
Humans exist with a code called survive.
Yes.
So humans keep surviving, right?
Yes.
We reproduce with kids,
Yes.
society, and groups, right?
Yes.
So they exist inside of a code of exist and survive,
Yes.
right? You would agree, right?
Correct.
And with the humans, what we do is we become something,
Yes.
we conflict, we
Yes.
come together,
Yes.
and we conflict with the bigger things. We come together.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing that since millennia.
Yes.
Once became farmers.
Yes.
See, we used to be hunters and gatherers,
Yes.
and we used to flow with the migration of the herds.
Yes.
But some women figured out, like, they felt sorry for us men who had kept on getting killed to get meat. And they taught us how to farm. But inadvertently, they created wars because we would have land,
Yes.
we would grow crops, we would feed, we would have a lot of fun, a lot of kids. We need more land. So as a result, we started fighting for more land. And then people go, "Oh, you go there." But eventually we end up fighting with each other, even though we're all same tribe,
Yes.
because of land and survival.
Yes.
And so what we've learned over the last thousands of years is how to grow,
Yes.
how to reproduce, how to fight, how to come together. So we'll keep doing that ad infinitum until, as a planet, we're all one species again, collectively and operationally. But that will take time.
And consciously, so that we're actually all aware of how we are contributing and helping our communities.
Well, I like to think so, but my experience is that we do it automatically, just like sex and reproduction.
Yes.
And so, it's much easier and less painful to do it consciously.
Mm-hmm.
But and I hope that's what happens.
Yes.
But I would love to participate in conscious evolution versus unconscious one. Evolution will happen to you whether you like it or not.
Yes.
One way is painful, one way is not.
Yes.
And free will, you get to choose.
Yes. And making better decisions in terms of who we work with.
Yeah.
You know, the adding and also the subtracting.
Yeah, because who you are is yourself plus your circle of people.
Yes.
And you just need to make sure that people around you are people that you want to be you, or like you, or you want to be like.
Mm-hmm. So coming back a bit to 1988 and your beginnings, could you speak more of how it began for you?
Well, I started talking Steven, and I started working with people.
Yes.
And Steven worked with large corporations. I
Yes.
do like I do now.
Yes.
At the time, all I knew was no one. So I would work with these people who are just small little teeny businesses, right?
Yes.
And I still do. I'm very righteous about it. I've been working with small businesses, individuals, teams, groups, and whatnot. And Stephen came to me one day and says, Robert, I'm teaching you corporate consulting. You're doing something completely different. You're taking all this stuff and applying to these people. So what are you going to call this thing? Because this is not corporate consulting, Robert. And I said, well, I work with small businesses, or they're business owners, and they cannot really afford to pay me to do the work. So I'm coaching them like do it yourself. So I'm going to call myself a business coach.
Yes.
And Stephen was a little perplexed, but he said to me, you know what? I honor your intentions, but you probably tell this story for the rest of your life. Are you willing to do that? If you are, and you're trying to explain to what people business coaching is forever, you can do this.
Yes.
And I said, okay. Stephen said, well, good luck to you, because I don't know if this will go anywhere, but hopefully it will. And I'll keep on working with you, help you. And he did. And over time, business coaching became an industry, because what happened was 88, 89, 90, a whole bunch of middle management of large companies got laid off.
Yes.
Amazing skills, but they had no job.
Yeah.
They couldn't walk around telling people I'm unemployed. So they said I'm a business coach, consultant, whatever. Like 95% of them ended up getting regular jobs.
Yes.
3%, 2% stick around, and this word called business coach took off.
Yes.
And then everything got added from corporate reengineering to palmistry to whatever. And a whole bunch of people came and said, I want to have this be standard or whatnot. And industry got created.
Yes.
And because there were all these business people that are coming in who couldn't find a place in regular business.
Yes.
And in my case, I worked with smaller companies, and one day I got this one company, and I said, Stephen, I finally landed a large client. Stephen said, tell me about the company. 10:30 at night, I'm calling him excited. Listening to me, he goes like, Robert, the reason she's with you is because she already spent all the money on everybody else. And you're like the last hope, and it's almost impossible case. But I'll help you. I said, Stephen, thank you. So I said, look, I'm going to be helped by Stephen, so I'll help you. So we went through a lot of dramas together. But bottom line, the company grew and successful. And she shared with a lot of people, and ended up being passed around like a exotic drink amongst all these business owners. And they became my core of my existing clients. And I kept on talking to 3 people every day about the business every day. So what I would do is I would tell 3 people about business coaching. And since it didn't exist, I had to explain what business coaching was, what I could do 3 times a day with new people.
Did the people include business owners, and would you include artists, musicians, healthcare workers, athletes?
Well, you have to understand, when I first started, I would work with anybody and everyone.
All right.
Because my life was at stake. I wouldn't be able to live or survive, right? But because I was so earnest and so
And you just wanted to help people.
idealistic,
Yeah.
I was able to do so. And they did really well. A lot of them turned into businesses and became business owners over the years
Yes.
and decades to come.
Yes.
And they're some of my friends.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the joy of being young and being able to take insane risks, making things happen,
Yes.
and not knowing any better. And yeah, so that's what happened.
We have a lot to thank you for then. You've set this model of really, world-class, business friendship and alliance, right from the ground up.
I guess so. Yeah. And we work month at a time, and everything kind of runs on a handshake still.
Yes. All right.
So it's been a very interesting model because a lot of my other clients and other coaches who I've helped develop, and some are their own,
Yes.
they're shocked by my model because of the way it works.
Yes. And do you set goals or for change, or is it just results that you measure and make adjustments for? In the
We
average?
set the North Star,
Yes.
and we set targets
Mhm.
and goals, and we support people in getting in the direction.
If people don't know how to get to where they want to go,
We do research and find the path, and we carve it out. So let me give an example.
Yes.
I had this young woman and young gentleman come to me.
yes.
They were referred to by one of my biggest clients,
Mhm.
and so I couldn't say no. And I met them at a cold LA day. Cold LA day is about 60 degrees or 59 degrees at a Starbucks.
Yes.
And they were young kids in their 20s, mid-20s, and
Yes.
they were artists, and they will make these art paintings, sell them in galleries. Every 4 months, they will sell a piece for $5,000. And what he did for a living was he took photographs from buses, and he worked for a bus company. She was the caretaker of a young lady, like a nanny almost, part-time
Yes.
nanny, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
And we looked at the work. It was amazing. It just that about, I don't know, maybe 100 people saw it every year.
Yes.
So we spent time with them, and we got them to showing in their friends' homes. Says, you got 50 pieces in your garage. Give it to your friends and let them, and let them display it.
Yes.
And later I said, well, these is so good, you should print it and sell it to a lot of people. So we got involved with Guild.com, Fab.com, and HomeGoods.com, and so forth.
Yes.
And within 2 years, they had a multi-million-dollar company. Now, they were saving a couple $100 a month, right?
Yes.
And they saved about $21,000 over a few years.
Yes.
And first order they got from Guild, they said, Robert, what's up? Guild ordered, and it cost $22,000 for us to produce it.
Yes.
Should I do it? Do it. So that was their biggest gamble. Their whole life savings, right?
Yeah.
These two young kids.
Yes.
And they sold it. And then it says, I get a call a few weeks later, after a couple more coffees.
Yes.
Robert, I'm in trouble. What's going on? We got all these prints here on the canvases. It's filling up all of our apartment. And I got to pack it in UPS. And I'm getting hot here because I got to do these UPS sticky things.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, so that was the adventure. And then now they're a much bigger system, right? And they grew really, really fast.
Yes.
And now they're an international concern.
My.
But that happened because we built a path that never existed. We took a camera-ready photo art that was changed and put in galleries. We put them in a different medium called internet
Yes.
and promotions.
Yes.
And as a result of that, they grew geometric, right? So what's possible in today's world is it could never been done before, because with technology you can reach so much people.
Yes.
You walk dogs, you pick up their number 2 and number 1, right? And you charge for service, right?
Yes.
Now you have the truck, you have the little kennel, truck
Yes.
for a lease, and kennels and cages. Every morning you can pick up 25 dogs,
Yes.
take them to a park,
Yes.
and you put the dogs away, pick up a lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
You can make 6-figure income doing that. So one of my clients now has a 6-figure income business with her partner in Los Angeles by walking dogs. And then now we have secondaries. I only worked with her briefly, but she now also has a service where you have people sleeping over with dogs when people go out of town. Only in Los Angeles and Hollywood, right?
Yes.
So we live in the world where anything is possible.
Yes.
And our job is to do a research and find a path that never existed.
Yes.
So a lot of the work we do is really amazing because we've done so many of these now. We're able to take some ideas from X, apply here. Like we had a flower shop.
Yes.
We took the process from process engineering and management production from factories
Yes.
and placed it in a flower shop.
Yes.
So flower shop, you cannot go in anymore,
Yeah.
but now it's all shipping and receiving, right?
Yes.
So now it's a flower factory,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do is we build path that never existed. Actually, it exists, but for somebody else. We just
Yes.
copy and paste a lot of times. And then we deal with all the emotional and mental resistance that are along the way, and we add people. That's what makes it really fun.
Yes. So in your creation or co-creation,
Co-creation.
looking for identifying some results and a path, then you actually create a system to support that or to.
Well, initially it's a lot of testing,
Okay.
but there's a hit that occurs, and that we improve upon that. So, for example, the lady I told you about who's doing really well, making 6-7 figures on the web,
Yes.
selling paintings and arts and photograph images. That took trial and error. The trial and error period lasted about 4 months.
Yes.
But once it hit, everything starts to change.
All right. You spoke of some large clients. Can you speak more about some of the changes that have happened at a larger scale and maybe even names or?
Okay. There's an accounting firm that's national in the United States.
Yes.
And I was part of the, we worked with their local director in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And we came up with this concept called Fast 50, where we would do award ceremonies for fastest growing companies in that sector, cities.
Yes. Yes.
And we would have people sit at the tables with the award receiver and their friends.
Yes.
And that increased the sale of the company 30 to 50%. And as a result, the localized marketing director became nationwide
Yes.
marketing director, and was able to take my client and us together into that realm.
Exciting.
Yeah. So and another one, we have a company that's now owned by 2 sons.
Yes.
And we're expanding. It's after the fact, but we're adding their 30,000 square foot facility to that.
Right.
But it all happens as a conversation.
So in the conversation, we're in a transition now where the older generation and ways that have been are all shifting now to the digital age and social media, and there's also succession of businesses as they've been to the next generation. Is that an area that you focus in?
I don't know focus. It just comes
It
to
happens,
us.
yes. What are some of the barriers to successful succession from one generation to another?
Well, you have 2 circles that are enclosed loops. And you will see that will cause economic change over the next 2 to 4 years,
Yes.
because one generation, the boomers, are retiring,
Yes.
and they're leaving the workforce, and they're going to spend their stocks and bonds and assets to live.
Yes.
Right now in the United States alone, 10,000 people is retiring every day. And when you do the math, each person needing $40,000 to $80,000 per year to live, minimum, it creates a huge impact. But imagine that happening globally. So right now, the biggest thing that will happen is that in the next 2 to 4 years, one generation of people is retiring. And the transition of wealth from one generation to the next has not been done. So it will be a mess. So you will see economy faltering 20, 30% across the world.
Yes.
And then you will see young people who are smart enough, who are prepared, buying the assets for a song. And you will see the massive transition happening in the world to come.
The paradox of too old, and too young, where the new generation is that's coming into the workforce are challenged in many cases to find their work.
Well,
And-
because there's no more jobs anymore that used to be.
Yes.
What there is a lot of self-employment. So what's happening in Los Angeles is There's jobs at 10, 11, $15 an hour, but the above that, the pathway in is not there as much. It used to be.
Right.
So what I'm coming across is people who have regular jobs
Yes.
and the people starting their own businesses. And so you have one stable person or one person who has a job and entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So the future for young people is having a base income and doing something else on the side that becomes a team activity that grows.
Okay.
And then that ends up employing a lot more people.
Right.
So that seems to be the future, the pattern that at least in Los Angeles is following. So you will see a lot of amazing beginning of new businesses. So it's like spring for young people,
Yes.
but spring is painful for seeds because you have to go through dirt,
Yes.
a lot of stuff to get there.
Yes.
But this is the beginning of a new era, if you will.
Yes.
So we're in the beginning new era.
How will that impact the seniors as
Well-
they're retiring now and the world doesn't work the same?
Well,
And how can it? What's the path
See,
there?
in Canada,
Yes.
it's interesting because what you've done as a country is you brought a lot of immigrants with some wealth, some
Yes.
not.
Yes.
But you brought enough young people, especially in Toronto, that were actually produce and that will replace the production of the people who are older.
Yes.
Other parts of the country, you will have people that are a lot of older people, but their immigration structure is not that great. So don't have
Yes.
enough young people, so that those sections will suffer.
Yes.
And it will have issues with healthcare, retirement, all kinds of stuff. So in the parts of lands where there's enough young people who will do the work,
Yes.
where older people will actually help them,
Yes.
you will see smooth transition.
Yes.
The ones that are imbalanced, you will see, problems. Because it's all demographics, right? Because at a certain age, we get married. At a certain age, we buy a home. At a certain age, we have kids. We consume. At a certain age, we sell our homes. We sell our assets. We retire, right?
Yes.
There's a life cycle.
Yes.
And depending upon what percentage of people are there, it determines the economy of that land.
Yes.
So you will see a lot of changes happening, especially in countries that stop young people from coming in. Unfortunately, that happens to be my country, which is the United States. So you will see the United States aging faster because of foolish immigration policies. So you will see all these changes across the world.
Yes. And then in developing countries, is the age of the global citizen upon us, or that's still way in the future?
I don't know if there's a global citizen now. What there is still age, is still age of family, still age of states and nations.
Yes.
Nations working to manage resources instead of cooperating. It will take some time. I think we tried to get to the next level too prematurely. And that's what's caused the problem in Africa and stuff like that, because they're still tribes. They have
Yes.
not gone through the nation state yet. And then I think what the rest of the world has done is tried to make the tribes into nation states faster, and that caused breakdowns. You still unfortunately have to go through the growth stage of conflict to resolution to working together. That seems to be the story of our lives. Thesis, antithesis, push minus push, and new path, right? So you could say, that's what's happening globally. And individually, you want to see where you are and fitting into the whole mishigami of things, and how you want to engender collective growth inside of your circle.
Are there economies or cultures, countries that you view as more optimal or that we can learn from? What are some of the examples of excellence that you're seeing in the world?
I see Canadian culture as one of the excellence. I see Japanese culture as one of the excellence. I see parts of European structure as excellent. So excellence is.
Could you elaborate more?
Well, I think here, I love your healthcare system. People may knock on it or not, but you're ill, you have heart problem, they will take care of you.
Yeah.
And there's a
It's a basic human right that is being fulfilled.
Well, it's invented as human rights. You have to understand, humans don't have any rights by nature. But what ends up happening is by people saying there is rights and
Yeah.
living or dying for it,
Creating a charter.
yeah, you create rights.
Yes.
So when you say, like United States, what's phenomenal about it is somebody said all men are created equal,
Yes.
given inalienable rights by God. Now, at the time he wrote, he was thinking probably just all gentry citizen who happened to be Anglo-Saxon. But what he wrote on the pen is all men are created equal, right? So as a country, it started to live into that sentence.
Yes.
And then over time, it's becoming more and more egalitarian, where all men are created equal. So word is changing the world, right?
Yes.
So answer your original question, I see Canadian healthcare system, imperfect it is, it's human, it's imperfect.
Yes.
I see certain parts of it are great. I see certain European education system is great. I see certain Japanese culture is great.
Could you speak more on the European education?
Well-
What's so great about that than the Japanese?
Well, it could be simple as lunch at European schools.
Oh.
They actually are fed healthy food.
And that impacts the thinking,
Right.
the
Simple,
clarity.
simplest things, right? Or parents can actually have lunch with their kids if they want to, right? Because they have
Yes.
time, right? So there's actually humanness to their model.
Yes.
And here, you get ill, you could be in a camping somewhere else, but you go to this location, they'll take care of you. There's no concern for what you can pay or not pay.
Yes.
Or if you're a single mom, the government is there for you.
Yes.
So I appreciate how, as a Canadians, you are Canadians no matter where you're from,
Yes.
just as Americans are and hopefully will be.
Yes.
And what I like about Japanese culture is, I was watching this baseball game, and baseball game ended.
Yes.
People all left in rows, and how clean everything was. I said to
Yes.
myself, interesting culture, right?
Yes.
So those are some of the things I see. But what I appreciate is how much people care for each other. And there's a structure and system for caring of people. And that's what I appreciate about things that work well. Because we're all, good or bad, we're humans.
Yes.
We're all operated about 75-80% efficiency. And we all want perfection
Yes.
in our life and otherwise, right? So that's what that would be my response to your question.
Yes. Yes. And I brought up this show is called Divine Times, and I'd like to ask you the question then: where do you have where do you see the divine unfolding? How does it work? What makes it work better? It seems that your coaching is integral or a part of it. But what are the next points for you and for BSC Alpha here in Toronto?
RSC Business Group.
RSC, yes.
Okay, I know it's really hard to pronounce and it's hard to say, and you have to work at it. RSC Business Group Alpha, rscbga.com,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What I see is working with a lot of small businesses, helping to usher in the next era in North America, where small businesses comes into being, express themselves, work harmoniously with other businesses that grows, and help to build a better community. Because ultimately, it all starts here. It all starts this way, right?
Yes.
Top down, bottom up. They both work. And we've been fortunate in working with a lot of small business and helping them become medium-sized business and grow. And to deal with all the stuff along the way. Because it's not avoidance of human drama, but working inside of human drama, so it's adventure and comedy versus tragedy and suffering.
Wow.
It's still a show,
Yes.
but a good show nonetheless.
Yes. So in creating more of the adventure and comedy,
Yes.
many seniors are not plugged into the digital age and social media. How critical is that going to be?
Well, I think what will happen now is older people will become knowledge base
Yes.
for the generations to come. I think what you're doing now is the Divine Times is really great because you've actually taken on helping to disseminate data and knowledge and curiosity amongst people. I kind of see, like what you've done for yourself. You actually create a pathway for younger people to come and share,
Yes.
but also create paths,
Yes.
connections that never was.
Yes.
So I think what's possible for older generation is to take, number one, they've earned their knowledge.
Yes.
They earned their know-how,
Yes.
and it's time for them to share.
How can we, us, best share while the drivers are the new generation, the digital age, and we're
Well,
catching up if we are,
well,
or even can.
Well, you got books, you got tapes, you got CDs, you got lecture series like this one,
Yes. Yes.
or places, and it's really be willing to share what they know with new people. Because what happens to all of us as human beings, we get older and we isolate ourselves.
Yes.
We say, well, we're done, we're not. But trouble is, human beings are now living to 100 years of age. See, when we're a hunter and gatherer culture, we died at 24.
Yes.
So it to be like this. I'm a 15-year-old hunter. You're a 15-year-old hunter. I'll go like this. Hilton, I'm gonna get married soon. Actually, I'm already married. I'm married at 13. I'm gonna have a child in about a year or so. If it's a boy and yours is a girl, let's marry them together. Okay? What do you say?
Great idea. Yes, we want to ensure the survival.
Right. And so there was no love per se. There was survival.
Yes.
And then over time, when the farming came along, we lived to a ripe old age of 35, 40. So, and the farming created wars of kingdoms.
Yes.
And then suddenly there was romance because now you have a choice from 2 to 10. Right? Before it was like 2. It's like, that's it.
Yes.
A or B, choose.
Yeah.
Now it's like love and selections and all that. And what's happening today is 2 things. For younger people, it's frustrating because there's about 100,000 people to choose from.
Yes.
And you want to make the right one. So you end up getting married later. You're having more single sex and whatnot because your system cannot compute so much data. It's overload, right?
Yes.
And then a lot of times what we do is we go like, well, we're going to die soon. So, we should just make it easy and go. But trouble is we're living 35 years longer. So it's a whole lifetime.
Yes.
So what the older people have to realize is they'll be here for a while, till 100.
Yes.
So that means they have to do something they never had to do before, which is plan out their life. What do you mean I'm not going? What do you mean I'm here?
Yes.
What do you mean I have to stay healthy? Wait, I've done this. Wait, the contract says I die at 59. Oh, that was for 1950s.
Yeah.
Oh, only 2% live 65. Now 90% live 65. Women are living to 98, 99.
Yes.
And if you're a millennial or you're a little bit older people, you're gonna live to 100 plus. Okay.
Yes.
So what we call older is not the older anymore. It's like phase 4.
Yes.
We used to only have 3 phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 are gone. Before there were only phase 2, right?
Yes.
45 years of age.
Yes.
Now 60. Now we have one more life. So question really becomes if you've done your obligation, you've made your income,
Yes.
you got your home, you got married, you raised a family, you've done your part, what do you want to do with a free extra life? It's like you're playing a video game,
Yes.
you get an extra life. What do you want to do?
Yes.
What's possible? And then you have to let go of the preconceived notion of how it's supposed to be and invent and create.
And how it was to how it is now and what's going to be useful.
Exactly. It's like you have a video game reset.
Yes.
And then it's like, wow, I have extra life. What do I do? So that's the opportunity of a generation of people now.
In the video game reset, it's entertaining, a bit of a comedy for me to imagine. Do we have video games for seniors and for seniors that will begin to engage them or plug them in, or how do we work there? Because
because what you will see is you have avatars, you will have videos, virtual reality coming along.
yes.
You will see a lot more things that you never seen before. Next 20 years, cultural change. We'll go through 3 years of mess. But in the next 20, 30 years, you'll be a beginning of new civilization on the planet.
Yeah.
And good or bad, it's coming. So it's up to you.
We're heading into, we've been living information overload in this information age, but we're also with the advent of, a lot of expert systems or artificial intelligence, blended in with what I like to call artificial ignorance.
Yes.
Because we can't have intelligence without looking at the blind side, pardon the
Right.
pun here.
So what's happening is a whole new people who do discernment, figuring out what's good or bad becomes very, very important.
But that's judgment, isn't it?
Yes, judgment.
Yes, okay.
And to get judgment, you need to be older enough to have the bad experience and good experiences.
Yeah, and wisdom and a way of working with everything that is.
Yes. And unfortunately, older you get, better you get that.
Yes.
So you will see curation becoming a whole new industry.
Curation?
Yes, figuring out this is good, this is bad, like reviews,
Oh.
whatnot. Because in the world of infinite choice and limited time,
Yes.
are you going to spend 30 years trying to figure out what's best, or have somebody do the sorting for you?
Right.
So now you
Or
got
systems that are currently in place that are already providing that
right.
information.
So sorting becomes everything now.
Yeah, you were saying sorting is everything, but after sorting,
Having taste and judgment to choose.
so that sorting, finding, and then
Choosing.
Choosing.
Right.
So if we put that on a platter, a simple platter, so that 20-somethings are already doing this, 30-somethings are already doing this, 40-somethings are doing this, 50-somethings, most are, many are. 60-somethings, not necessarily as much.
Well, because you don't know they're going to have an extra life. See, what people don't know is we're going to live and live and live. They have to reset their mindset. That's the hardest part, because we're told that, in the old model, you become 55, you're 60, 65, you retire,
Yeah.
you have 4 more years, and that's it.
Yeah.
But until you got like 30 years.
Yeah, but even if it goes to 75, 80, 15 years, there's a big difference between 15 years and 35 years.
Right. So one of the things that people have to understand is what they want to do in living in that time frame. Because humanity is designed to live short amount of time.
Yes.
So the reason there's divorce is because people are living long enough to go, oh, I don't like you. In the old days, you got to the point like, I don't like her too much. Next day you were dead. So there was no divorce required.
Right.
But now it's like, I don't like you. Can I live another 40 years with her and not like her?
Yeah.
Is it worth $1 million or not for divorce or not? That's the kind of choice they're making, because a lot of our marriage model are designed to reproduce and raise families. They're not designed to change the world or build a better community or make a difference. So marriage model doesn't last long enough in that model, right?
Yes.
Because it's not, the team is not designed for long-term purposes. Let's put it that way.
Teams are not designed for long term.
Well, in the marriage teams,
Oh, yes.
husband and wife is a team.
Yes.
But if they're designed only to last 25 plus years and raise kids, when the role is done, their reason to be together is done.
Today, even though the responsibility is 25 years to rear and raise children,
It goes on.
The reality is that many don't make the first 7 years,
Right.
and with that breakdown, and cost, and is there a wisdom or something that we can begin to employ differently so that we have more wisdom in those choices and decisions?
What do you mean by
for,
wisdom?
for young people, so that there's the gap between the young and inexperienced and the ability to take risks and fast and change, and the older generation that has a different kind of discernment.
Yes, you
value.
do, because you've learned to live with people for a long time.
Right. How can you imagine, or do you have some ideas on how the generations can work together better with creating systems, better systems?
Well, I don't know about systems as much as relationships.
Just relationships.
Yeah, because I think younger people today, number one, they have to sort between tens of thousands of men and women,
Yes.
and they're trying to sort as fast as they can, but they can't. They have no distinction between short-term relationship and long-term relationship, because everything is such a blur.
Yes.
And they take on a long-term relationship before they're ready. And then it causes financial upset, emotional upset, sociological upset, all that kind of stuff, because it's not planned out. Because one group of people is living inside of a lifespan of 40 years, another 20 years, another 60 years. Unfortunately, we're going to live a long time now. Fortunately, depending how you look at it, right?
Yes.
If it's prepared, it's heaven.
Yes.
If it's not, it's hell.
Yes. And at least if one is in that for a bit, if one takes a lighter approach to it in the comedy, one can then add or subtract things that are not as positive, and then add other things. And if one is constantly adding
Yeah.
towards that, regardless of how young or old, I like to refer to the 50+ generation as the eternal agers, because we do not know how long we're going to live.
Well, another 50 years at least.
My gosh.
Yeah. And so it requires a different mindset
Right.
and different purpose. I mean, because look, when we're younger, we say, look, wear your body out because you're not going to live long. Now you go like, maybe I should rethink that. When I was growing up, they used to say like, you're asleep when you're dead. But like I'm 55, 56, it's like, wow, that concept may be overrated,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So things like
finding balance and alignment, a way of
Yeah.
being healthy,
that. And maintenance and expansion.
maintenance and expansion.
Yeah.
For many people, particularly junior, seniors, or seniors, they just look at it as a downhill slope, and it's not necessarily true.
See, that's the problem. They think it's downhill slope. Slope is not too steep. That's the problem. See, before you used to have this downhill slope like this.
Yeah.
We still have a slope, but it's like this.
Yes.
So it's not.
But we haven't made the adjustment or embraced
Right.
what's possible.
So it's like people are getting upset. It's like, I'm still here. Wait, isn't this supposed to happen? So there's a lot of upset going on right now across the world
Yes.
because we have certain expectations. It's just that we never updated ourselves as humanity. We forgot to update who we are now because we think we're still who we were 30 years ago, 50 years ago. We're still operating from the specification and design, and God gave us an update, and we just forgot to tell ourselves.
So is it also likely, as much as there's this huge value for youth having coaching and to fulfill their goals, their dreams, and define those, it seems that there's as much, if maybe not even a greater demand for
new
elders
begin-
to now engage.
Or new beginnings, people of new beginnings to start again, right?
Yes.
We like to think new beginning is starting at 20, 30, but new beginning may actually start at 50.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding that looking at the new beginnings at 60 and sort of going, wait a minute. I'm probably going to be here in my 70s and 80s and maybe even my 90s.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And then you're going to be healthy,
Yes.
or healthy as possible, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's a shock to most of humanity because our culture, global culture, is not designed that way.
Yes.
So
yes.
we have to be pioneers once again of the new frontier,
Yes.
and it's called life.
Yes. I've had experience, with my late wife, who was in long-term or institutional care. She was very sick the last, 10 years of her life. And my mother, who's now 86, is in care also.
Right.
And it's lovely in that meals, a bit of exercise, but the institution recommends not walking so much and not doing too much. And I'm shocked at this.
Well, that may have been true for them, but not necessarily for you or audience anymore. It's just like we're newer models.
Yes. And I know that, now for myself, I was not particularly athletic.
Right.
In
See, like if I was an older model, let's
Yes.
just say I was born in 1900s,
Yes.
I'm 56, I
Yes.
wouldn't have the body I have now.
Correct.
My hair is whiter, but my rest of my body is not.
Right.
So I have a different mobility, different ability
Yes.
than say somebody in 1940s and their 50s.
Yes.
If you take somebody in their 50s, 1950s or 40s, this won't be the age image that you will see.
Yes.
So you have to understand, in the newer models, people who were born later,
Yes.
We live longer now.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that we have to deal with,
Yes.
because we did not eat the same way, we did not live the same way.
Yeah. We're not smoking. We're not doing many of the things that we used to.
Right. Look, we used to be a farming country
Yeah.
across North America. We used to drink alcohol in large consumptions because we did farm work,
Yes.
and alcohol relaxed the muscles. But we don't do that much work anymore. As a result of it, that
Yes.
habit still exists. It creates alcoholism. Right?
Yes.
Same amount of alcohol that used to relax the muscles after 6 hours of labor, 8 hours of labor, without the labor, causes alcoholism, right?
Yes.
It's a large volume. It doesn't act as a medication anymore. It acts as
Yeah.
something else.
Yes.
So,
It's an addiction that, and it's not a medicine anymore.
right, because there's 8 hours of labor missing per day, physical labor.
Yes. Yes.
So what has happened is, excuse me, a lot of our culture did not caught up with the way it is now. We still do the same thing that we used to do. And what we want to look at is, who are we now?
Yes.
What are we now? What can we do now? Versus what we used to be, how we
Yes.
used to be, what was our programming then?
Yes.
I mean, there was no ill intent here.
No.
All the design was for people staying sane.
Yes.
But it's just that you and I are no longer same.
Mm-hmm.
We're different, even though we think we are same inside.
Yes.
But the whole everything is different now, and we get to update ourselves.
With the legalization occurring or being developed of cannabis, and so many people medicating medically and or recreationally, and it is a medicine, a pure medicine.
If it is used right.
But when it's used right, but when it's not, and it's just taken in indiscriminately.
Right. So this is a discernment that people need to understand.
Right, and a discipline also to,
Yes.
and also experience and experiment.
Yeah.
But also then looking at what results am I producing with this?
Right.
And is this true, or am I living in confusion and delusion because
Or
of this?
past programming, past cultural design.
Right.
So we all live inside of a design of a world that were given to us,
Yes.
but we don't examine it.
So if we start examining it at every age, for instance, myself now and just at 60, I'm recognizing, gosh, I
You're
need to
starting
work
a
on.
new business, new career in your life.
Yes, and I'm recognizing this body's been sort of losing weight. I need to work on putting on muscle and weight. So I'm
Weight
doing-
training.
and push-ups
Strength
and doing
training.
physical things. And
Right.
now sometimes it's more difficult for me to go to the gym, so I'm finding isometrics and things I can just do at
Or
home.
you have to have somebody go with you and work with you.
Yes,
So, like for example, I have a guy in LA. He is in his late 60s.
yes,
What he does for his whole business is strength training.
yes,
He does like a slow exercise program where he builds muscles.
yes,
And he has a client who are in the late 60s, early 70s, and she was going on a trip to East Coast.
yes,
And she brought a big luggage, and the guy said, "Ma'am, can I help you with it?" She said, "No." She lifted up, put him on the trunk,
yes,
on the baggage compartment, right?
yes,
And what she said to him was, year and a half ago I couldn't do that, but now I have enough strength to do so. Why? Because she does strength training.
Yes.
She does slow fitness thing, right?
yes,
So what he's learned how to do is to build a business
Yes.
for the market now,
yes,
because he's now building a business for older market, 50 plus, 60 plus, right?
Yes.
And there's a need.
huge need.
So as a result, his business is blooming like mushrooms. So one of the things that we have to learn is be willing to research and find out what's possible for us now
Yes.
versus live inside of what's been given to us.
I've heard it said that the way to live a great life is for every decade of our life and every new decade to have a vision, a passionate, compelling, exciting, challenging.
Every 5 years, every 3 years now.
My God! So
Yeah.
that's really I had it at 10, but really reinventing every 3 to 5 years makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because probably in few years, it'll be like every year.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the level of change now in terms of what's possible
Right.
it's dramatically different now than it was, even 3 years ago. And
Right.
we are not, I haven't even kept in tune with that, and I'm realizing what a huge opportunity and gift if I'm willing to
Look.
do the research.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, what's possible for you now is not same as what's possible for you a month ago, year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Because the world around you, people around you is changing.
Yeah.
There's 7 billion of you out there right now,
Yes.
and they're moving just like you, thinking very different ways.
Yes.
And because they're alive, your life will never be the same.
And they're inventing things that I'm unaware of, and if I stay abreast with research and curiosity, and and comedy,
Right?
the
Because-
world is in our hands. It's our oyster.
Well, yes, world is an opportunity because, and it's comedy if you account for human error. See, we're gonna be forever be 80% functioning humans,
Yes.
no matter how good we become.
Yes.
So instead of perfection, here's all these flawed beings living together harmoniously,
Yes.
or not harmoniously in some cases, right?
Yeah, and really the first harmony is to find it and develop it and discipline it within ourselves with whatever is.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you just keep expanding your bubble outward because what you'll find out is who you are really, your life consists of yourself and about 50, 60 people
Yes.
you interact with every day. That's your world. And some news from outside.
Yes.
Now, if you get bigger than that, your life becomes 300, 400 people, 500 people. If you get bigger than, you're like 10,000 people working together. You're part of the whole.
Yes.
And all there is for you to do is connect and provide value for you, your team, your group, your circle, your community, right?
So for anyone in the world, and particularly in Toronto or in California, in LA, if they're wanting to find, and to sort and find a bigger, better world for each individual, one of the solutions would be just to be in touch with, RSCBGA.com.
Yes, or rscbg.com.
Yes.
Or rscbusinessgroup.com. There's
Yes.
a lot of us, but rscbusinessgroup.com
Yes.
and rscbga.com. Yes.
Right. And you have a team in Toronto of close to half a dozen.
Half a dozen, about.
Yes. All right.
And, they've been trained in technology and they're developing themselves too.
Right.
So what's happening in Toronto is different from what's happening in LA
Yes.
and Buffalo places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And is it for any individual to work with your group? Is it necessary that that your group knows something about their industry, or is it sort of a universal?
Well, what we'll do is we'll locate you in your business, in your market, where you are and where you want to go.
Yes.
And we're located financially, operationally, socially, structurally. And we'll chart a pathway to get there.
So it's like life planning for the individual at any level that they're at.
Well, there'll be life planning and business planning,
Yes.
but there'll be having a guide or support for their journey, if you will.
And together it does make things easier, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes. And more fun
More fun, more interesting.
and more effective.
Yes.
Marvelous. Robert, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us
Thank you very much.
and sharing. I'm so excited to know you and have the opportunity to work further. And that's really it. Do check into the rscbga.com group. This is Hilton Milan for Divine Times. Thank you. We'll see you in the light.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Robert.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful.